Millions of Americans are having a very difficult time just keeping up with their bills, keeping a roof over their head, and putting food on the table. But things will actually get much worse. According to Bankrate's Emergency Savings Report for 2025, most Americans are not prepared for a loss of wages. They're not prepared for an emergency. And many are not prepared for even a $400 expense. I'm going to break down what's going on, what we are seeing right now, and why many people are blaming the wrong thing for what is currently happening. So I'm going to break all this down in just a moment, but all I ask is one thing. It takes 2 seconds. Go ahead, hit that like button if you enjoy these daily updates. And now let's begin. So if you're like most people, you are going to blame your employer because they're not giving you enough of a raise. If you are like some people, you're going to say, no, the reason why I'm having difficulty right now financially is because egg prices keep going up. It just gets more and more expensive. Or like some people say, insurance for my car was just too much and that ate away at all my savings. No, there's a little more to it. But I want to show you something. This right here is Bankrate's 2025 Emergency Savings Report. Now, this is just a kind of summary of everything that's going on. Now, I want to explain this because you need to understand you are probably in line with everyone else. You probably are not as bad off as you think. The majority of the United States is struggling. Just listen to this. Only 2 in 5 Americans would pay for an emergency from their savings. And it's not because they would rather use their savings than credit. Okay, only 2 in 5 would pay for an emergency from their savings because that's probably all that have the savings and that have enough to cover it. Listen to this. It says 41% of Americans would use their savings to pay for a major unexpected expense, such as a $1,000 emergency room visit or a car repair. That is actually down from 44% a year ago. But what's happened? Well, many people have actually started to get raises. According to the report just out this morning, the American people have seen about a 4.1% increase in their wages over the past year. So that's actually pretty good, especially when inflation, again, we're right there. But this is a bigger one, okay? This is very big. This is important, okay? 71% of Americans say they're saving less for unexpected expenses due to inflation and rising prices, elevated interest rates, or a change in income or employment status. Think about this for a second. How many people have struggled because of interest rates going up and not falling as fast as many people were predicting? I know so many people that purchase homes, some of which purchase homes on, and it wasn't a fixed rate. It was a variable rate loan that they're very close to now seeing it change. Okay, where the rate's going to update, and when it does, many people are going to be screwed because they were told that, yeah, jump into the home. Don't worry, it's at 7%. Don't worry that your home's at 7%. It's okay because in a few months, when the Fed decides we are going to start cutting rates, you can just refinance. Well, people started doing this years ago, and guess what? Interest rates for homes at a 30-year fixed rate are still about 7%. But listen to this. 1 in 4 people in the United States have no emergency savings whatsoever. They just can't pay for anything. Okay, I want to read this to you. It says generationally, Americans have vary widely in their emergency savings levels. Over 1 in 3, or 34% of millennials, have no emergency savings, the highest percentage of any generation. Gen Z, it's 29%. Millennials, it's 34%. Gen Xers, it's 31%. And baby boomers, 16%, have no emergency savings whatsoever. Now, here's the reason I'm bringing this to your attention. I have a lot of friends that that work for the federal government, and many of which have already received a letter or email from the Trump administration asking if they want to actually go and collect pretty much their entire salary plus benefits, if they want to do that for the next 33 weeks. That they were being told that if you do this voluntary resignation or delayed resignation, you'd technically be employed with the federal government until September 30th. You'll still get paid, still get your benefits, everything like that, but you don't have to come into work. Well, many of them are extremely concerned that we didn't take this delayed resignation. So does that mean that once the Trump administration kind of figures things out, they're going to come in and just start laying people off? Potentially. But not only that, we're also seeing many companies are laying people off because they're not as profitable. Some are trying to go a little more towards using technology, artificial intelligence, so they don't need the staff that they once did. And that's causing a lot of people to panic. Millions of people, millions of Americans are absolutely screwed if they don't have any savings. Look at this right here. It says the majority needs at least 3 months of expenses saved to feel comfortable. It says the majority, 89% of Americans, say they would need at least 3 months of expenses saved in order to feel comfortable. More so, 63% would need to have at least 6 months of expenses saved to feel comfortable, and 26% would need between 3 and 5 months of expenses saved. Here's the problem. The majority of Americans do not have enough saved up for an emergency, especially a long-term emergency. A friend of mine thought that he could leave his job, and this was back in May or June of last year. He thought he could leave his job because there were so many positions out there, so many positions available. He left his job, decided he was going to go find something else. Guess what? He's still unemployed, unfortunately. And the reason why I say this is because how many months has it been since, let's say, June? Got July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February. That is 8 months. Even if he had a 6-month emergency fund, which he's doing very well, okay? So don't get me wrong. Okay? He's not struggling by any means. He's doing very well. But even if he only had a 6-month emergency fund, he went over by 2 months. What would he have been doing for the last 2 months? Okay, still trying to look for a job. And most people, and again, I want to be very clear here, if you got laid off and you've been looking for a job for, let's say, the past 2 months, you're doing okay. But according to research, once you get into that 3rd month or that 4th month, now you start to feel somewhat devalued. Like, what am I doing here? Why won't anyone hire me? And then you're going to feel like you put in applications and try to get a job at every single place in your city and nobody's hiring. You're going to feel almost worthless. Like, what did I do wrong? Do I not have the skills? Do I not have the past work history? What is, does nobody like me? What am I doing? That's what you're going to start to feel. So again, I'm bringing this to your attention because right now, millions of Americans are about to be screwed. And they're going to be screwed over simply because they don't have an emergency fund. They don't have enough credit that they can use a credit card. And think about this for a second. Many people, especially in 2025, they can't even use credit cards because the credit card companies pretty much cut them off. They pretty much told them that, no, we're canceling your credit card. We're going to block your account. You cannot use it, but we still ask that you make payments. Yeah. Because all these banks, all these creditors, simply want to minimize risk. And by minimizing risk, it puts more Americans at risk because now we don't have access to credit. We don't have access to more money if we needed it. So again, that's where we're at this time. Millions of Americans are screwed simply because they're living paycheck to paycheck. They don't have a big enough emergency fund. They don't have credit cards that they can fall back on. And this is going to turn into a complete chaos here very soon. And I say that because we're about to see more layoffs in the next 3 to 6 months. So, as we get more information on this, I promise I'll bring you all the latest news and updates, but that's what we know as of today. So again, Thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.